Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. Good evening, good evening. All right. Good evening, good evening. Welcome to Brown Girl Collective's Live Well Sister. It is indeed a pleasure to be here with you all on this evening to have a wonderful conversation about just some of the things that are happening currently and being able to talk about ways in which we can be of better support to the young women in our lives. My name is Marcie Thomas, and I'm the founder of Brown Girl Collective, and also, obviously, your host here for Live Well Sister. And if you're unfamiliar with what Live Well Sister is all about, it is a forum where we get together and discuss just things that are important to us as Black women to help us to live well, whether it be our spiritual lives or our personal health or relationships with others, things that we're doing in the community, our finances, just a plethora of things that help us to live our very best lives. So as you come on board, please feel free to share this out with others who will be interested in getting in on this great conversation this evening. I'm super excited to have a couple of guests on to talk about what the things that we can do for our daughters who happen to be personal friends of mine, and as I like to call them, the good doctors, who have plenty of great information that they're going to be able to share with us tonight. So without any further delay, I'm going to go ahead and start introducing them. And what you can do for me is drop where you're from in the comments so we kind of know who all is here. And also be prepared to ask questions and things like that as we go along. So our first guest this evening is Dr. Tyffani Monford, who's a licensed psychologist based in Cleveland, Ohio. She has been featured on local and national news programs addressing the importance of emotional wellness in Black girls and Black communities, in Black communities, mental health in times of national crisis, and the school to prison pipeline's impact on Black girls. Additionally, she is the author of 3 books, Girls Got Issues, You Got This, and Black Girl Unapologetically. And in 2020, she co-founded Centering Sisters LLC, an organization dedicated to projects that center the needs of Black women, girls, and femmes, along with Dr. Carolyn Strong, one of our other featured guests this evening, and one of our previous guests, best-selling author Tamara Winfrey Harris. Dr. Carolyn Strong is a motivational educator with an anti-bullying message of hope for children, families, and schools. An educator with more than 10 years of experience working with inner city youth, she is currently Dean of Students in a high school serving more than 2,100 young people. In her role as a disciplinarian, she witnesses and confronts bullying daily by creating and implementing prevention programs in conjunction with traditional discipline. Her scholarly work focuses on bullying and the Black aesthetic, girl bullying specifically, minority representation in gifted education. She is the founder of Bullies Inc., BullyStink.com, and has conducted training at schools around the Chicagoland area. So without any further delay, here, Dr. Carolyn Strong and Dr. Tyffani Monford. Welcome, ladies. Carolyn, I think you are muted. So
I am no longer.
Make sure that people can hear you. So welcome, ladies. I thank you so much for just taking the time out of your very busy schedules to come on and join me tonight for this conversation. As I was saying earlier, well, we have known each other for several years now, and I feel like the very first time that we all connected, we were having a very similar conversation. So it's like, here we are again, all these years later, really trying to talk about our girls and ways in which we could be of greater support to them. So I've already given your background and told people a little bit about you, but I'd like for you to share some things about yourselves as well before we get into the questions. So I'm going to start with you, Dr. Tyffani.
Again, I'm Dr. Tyffani. I call myself a psychologist, a Black psychologist for the culture, because in the work I do, I center the needs of Black folks. I am also a firm believer that if you are providing mental health services to Black people, you also have to be entrenched in social justice work, because it is not enough for us to heal our community from stress and trauma and then send them right back into the world that's going to marginalize them and oppress them all over again. So we have to make sure we're changing those systems. We have to make sure that we're changing the world to make it safe, specifically in this moment, and for every moment for me, for Black girls and women.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dr. Carolyn Strong, please tell us a little bit about you.
Well, my focus since over the years has shifted more from bullying more to anti-racism, because until schools acknowledge and start working on the fact that this is a pervasive issue, we're going to continue to have a lot of the issues that we have in schools. We're going to continue to have a lot of the racial disparities, particularly in discipline, particularly in referrals, and even in the achievement gap as we know it. And I hate that phrase. I've been working on coming up with something else, but unfortunately, that's all we have right now. What we need to understand is that a large part of that goes right back to white supremacy and its presence in everything we do. So until we acknowledge that, we're going to keep being here.
Yes, unfortunately, we're here again. And one of the things that prompted me to reach out to you guys is what happened last week with Ma'Khia Bryant here in Columbus, Ohio. And it was just surprising to me, as I know it was to you all, because I've heard some of your other commentary and seen some of your Facebook posts. It's just amazing to me that we have had similar situations where, unfortunately, people have lost their lives due to being murdered or killed by the police. But it just seems like in this particular case, that there was a lot of venom that was spewed towards Ma'Khia because, she had a knife and, things of that nature, and almost to the point that people were implying that she just got what she deserved, so to speak, because of, the fact that she had a knife and, what else was he supposed to do? So I'll start with you in this case, Carolyn. What did you think about some of the commentary that has been going forth in the last few days?
Well, I just need to back up for a second. They weren't implying it. They were flat out saying it. Right. Their comments left no room for interpretation. Some of the things that were said were as blunt as, you had a knife, what do you expect? Mm-hmm. And there was no grace given, like none. There was more grace given to grown adults that committed literal treason than there was to a Black girl that was in a moment. And it's funny how we have all the excuses in the world for everyone else. Somebody storms the workplace, the first thing that the news channels want to do is talk about their history and their mental health challenges. Someone that doesn't look like her goes into a school with guns blazing, and now we have to have an expose on bullying and the long-term impacts of how it informs your decisions moving forward and how it changes the way you may want to behave in the world. But when we're talking about the intersection that everyone loves to hate, which is Black and girl, there is no grace given. There is no expose on what on maybe she is in the foster care or what that may look like or how that may have impacted her. There was none of that. It was point blank, period. She got what she came for. What did she think was going to happen? And no one else has to pay for in the moment decisions with their life but us.
Right. Right. Dr. Tyffani?
And I think some of that too is a couple of things. I think that the people who are normally speaking up and insisting that you see the humanity in others, that are insisting that people deserve to live, that they deserve the opportunity to have things sorted out, regardless of the situation or perceived danger, are usually people who fall into that group. We know when it is white men, white women are, proximity to white patriarchy, they're all up there shouting and saying, we need to know there's got to be a reason. White men, of course, are sitting here and either saying, are quickly also benefit of the doubt. They're also allowing grown men to be viewed as children. They'll start youthful indiscretions. They'll say things like, they'll call someone a young man, even though he's 40, those type of things. When it comes to Black males, Black women are the rallying cry. We are sitting up there. We're saying, how dare you do this? These are our sons. These are our husbands. Black men are doing the same thing because they're very invested,
right,
understandably so, in their own safety, and to be able to navigate the world. The problem is not even Black women in total support or defend Black girls. And so if the adult versions of us are not doing it, then no one else feels like they need to do it either, or gives justification for people to not. And so I think that's been the biggest thing for me. And part of it too is girls are never allowed to be girls. We are expected to be emotionally, intellectually adults and have this level of maturity, in part because it allows for our victimization by grown men. I was almost cussed. By grown men who can say, well,
grown ass men, it's okay.
And so it allows for our victimization on that end. And on the other, it also allows for women, Black women, to also put us in caregiving roles and have expectations on us before we should have those things. And then society in general, when we first got here, part of the historical nature is I need to say you're grown. So when I sexually assault you on the plantation, I'm not assaulting a kid, I'm assaulting a grown person. So we're dealing with all this historical and current. And so if no one is sitting here, Black women were all on my timeline, who were the main ones saying she deserved what she got. So what do we expect to happen? No one's defending Ma'Khia. No one. As a group. There's not a group that is out here defending her.
Or I'm not assaulting anyone because you're not human. I mean, you can't sexually assault a cat.
Right.
You can't sexually assault a dog.
Right.
So I don't even think that even the adultification was to justify the sexual assault, because the lack of humanity was to justify the sexual assault. I think that one of the things even in this that we need to think about or pay attention to is the fact that sometimes it's hard to be reflective about yourself. And because it's sometimes very hard to be reflective, you don't want to see yourself in other people. And I think that that's why a lot of Black women jumped so hard and so fast and stood 10 toes down in their respectability of this girl. Some of the comments, oh my God. At one point, I think something I read said something about ain't no way that she could be wearing a bra that size and still be considered a girl.
Right.
Or something like that. I'm sure I'm mixing it up because it's all foolishness. But it was something along those lines. It was basically like how her big ass a child.
Right.
And as somebody who's always been a big ass, I take personal offense to that.
Well, here, present as well, because you all, because you've seen me, but most people probably don't know. I'm 5'11", so yes, I know I may have been 10 or 11 and really tall, so people want to make you older than what you actually are because of your height or because of your size or because, we do develop in different ways, and usually we develop faster than others.
That's my thing. I'm like, I deserve to die because I was a C cup in the 6th grade.
Right.
Where they do that at?
Right. And, I know that, isn't it the age of 5 that they begin to adultify Black girls?
Yeah. As young as 5.
Right.
And that's all groups. It's not just white people. It's everybody who begins to say that Black girls are emotionally, sexually, intellectually, decision-making wise, not needing protection, all those things, they begin to expect that of us as young as 5.
Which is
a baby.
It blows my mind that, it's like we are not given the grace, as you said, just to grow up, just to be young women, and all of the things that you've already kind of stated. There's always a reason behind it. There's always a reason for people to try to justify their actions and put things on us for that reason. Well, Carolyn, I want to go back to you for a second, because I know that you said you've kind of strayed away from the bullying lane somewhat, but as someone who has worked with that, what is your take on what, of course, we'll never know the whole truth, but some of what may have even been going on with Ma'Khia and how bullying does show up oftentimes in our communities, whether it be with young girls and sometimes even with older adults who like to bully, if you watch a lot of reality TV.
I think that in this particular situation, of course, we don't know everything at the moment and things are still unfolding. But from some of the things that I've read, this appears, in my opinion, it appears that there were some other issues going on that may have been a result of her foster situation.
Gotcha.
Because some of the new things that I'm reading are saying that the child that everybody was claiming that the police officer deserved a Medal of Valor for, because so that young girl should have lost her life because of this young girl and blah 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 blah. And now we're finding out that was the whole ass adult.
Mm.
And the last thing I read was saying that she was formerly in that foster home.
Right, I can see that. Mm-hmm.
And this was an issue about her not washing dishes or not cleaning up to the standard of whatever the foster mom wanted. Again, I don't know how true that is, but that is what is being put forth for public consumption. And I think we all know that sometimes everything that's put forth for public consumption has to be taken with a grain of salt. However, if that is the narrative, then there are a whole bunch of issues going on there. You're talking about issues of familial bullying, where you have this child in the house that has this expectation that goes above and beyond what everybody else has in the home. And again, we don't know the full story, but if you rolling because some dishes wasn't washed, then we have an issue.
Right.
We have an issue there. And there's a whole, like I'm telling you, when this onion starts getting peeled back, there are going to be a number of individuals and a number of agencies, institutions that are going to have to answer some real questions. They are going to have some strong conversations about what's happening or what happened.
And Strong Conversations is your website, your podcast. So that was a plug indirectly. Strong Conversations. Oh, goodness. Bridget is saying, as someone who was bullied by her brothers and classmates, you get sick and tired of others' actions, and one day you would just see red and go off. Some will but put up with words, cussing, and fussing. Others will grab a weapon.
I think one of the things is that the difficulty is that we cannot fail to frame how this would have looked different if Ma'Khia would have been a white girl.
Absolutely.
For one, the police were called. So you knew someone felt that they were in danger. We are moving towards stand your ground in Ohio. They're pushing it through legislation, which means if you are in your space and you feel threatened, you have a right to defend yourself. You walked up on this situation, and I firmly believe if she would have been a white girl with a black pulling a knife at a black person, you would have wondered, is she the victim? Right. She could be the victim here because, again, stand your ground. She may be the victim here, and she may be protecting herself. But we don't. Part of it is this failure to even look at a black person who may be in possession of a weapon for purpose of protection as someone who needs protection versus as an aggressor. I mean, it's one of those things why even now when people are talking about black people need to have guns, we need to protect ourselves. Philando Castile had a licensed weapon, but it didn't matter that you were allowed to have it. And you said you had it. But because of your blackness, it wasn't looked at as something of protection. It was automatically assumed to be a weapon of aggression. And so I think that's one of the things too, is that we can't negate the police were called. Yes. Someone said they were being harmed, but you automatically made the assumption that you did not make the assumption that perhaps this is the person who's defending themselves. Perhaps this is the person who's vulnerable, and we need to figure this out. She's a black girl. You automatically assume she has to be the aggressor in this situation.
Well, that's because our skin color is always going to be the most dangerous weapon we ever possess.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They just see black and they automatically assume criminal or whatever the case may be. As you said earlier on, we're animals. We're not worthy.
Mm-hmm.
I do want
to see red.
Right. I do want to reach back and touch on something because we were talking about how some people may be projecting because of their own issues. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. How as Black women, there always seems to be, whether it's, geared towards our sons or whatever the case may be. I've had people that I know say, oh, I'm so worried about the men and things that could potentially happen with the police. I'm like, well, obviously it doesn't just happen to men. It happens to women as well. But from the standpoint of being a woman, what do you think that thing is that may cause some women to not really want to have a desire to protect or have a sense of understanding or that deeper level of care for girls that they have?
I think we've internalized messages a lot. These are the same messages that we have given Black girls and women for generations. You prioritize everybody over yourself. You are resilient. You don't need anything. We've talked about respectability politics. We've told girls, guard your virtue. Don't be fast. Not boys. Don't touch them. Men don't come after them. We have put the onus of everything on Black girls, and we heard these messages for generations. And unfortunately, instead of some of us saying, you know what, this is not a good thing, we own it, and then we throw those same things onto our girls. We call them fast. We tell them they're aggressive. We tell them if only you were more ladylike. We tell them don't go in these places because if you do, you get what you get. We sit here and we're the ones on social media more so than Black men who are saying, well, she got what she deserved. She shouldn't have had a knife. She should have stayed her butt in the house. She's a child. She did what children do, which is not think, which is be impulsive. And so we are just spewing out the same messages that we heard, and we are putting this mess onto the next generation of girls, and they deserve better than what we got. And until we realize that what we got wasn't right and it was harmful, some of us are thinking we're saying and doing what we're supposed to do. It's not an excuse, because I'm a firm believer in you do better than what happened to you. But when I hear it, I'm sitting here like, you heard this before. You are saying the stuff that you heard and were told.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what that goes back to. Again, being in the schools, I hear it all the time. My mama did blah, 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 and I turned out just fine. And I'm like, did you though? And that's number one. And number two, if you turned out just fine, is just fine really what you want for your kid? Mm-hmm. Are you happy with your just fine? Or do you want to take things a step further? The other thing, just to kind of piggyback off what Dr. Tyffani was saying, is that the one thing, again, as kind of a student of African American history, one of the things that keeps coming back up is that whatever happens in larger society tends to be concentrated when it is visited upon us. So what does that mean? All you have to do is walk through the baby onesie aisle of any store, and it will tell you everything that you need to know about what the expectations of man and woman are in this country. You go to the little boy section and you see things like chick magnet, ladies watch out, future heartbreaker, da 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 da. And then you go, to the little girl section and you see stuff like, my daddy say I can't date till I'm 40. My daddy got a gun, or watch out. So we've already set this up literally from the moment they come wriggling out. So we've already set this up. And this is what's happening in larger society. And because the only way that Black people have been able to survive as long as we have is that we have to do what we think is working in larger society. So you've taken a traditionally matriarchal people and stuck them into this space that is clearly toxically patriarchal. Toxic patriarchy. And so now you expect for Black women to hold up the pillars of the community while at the same time be these virtuous individual, be this virtuous being that wasn't charged with doing that. So you want me to kick ass in the street and submit at home, and those things really don't always mesh together in a very good way. So when it seems and feels and reads like confusion, because it's historical confusion.
It is. We have a comment here from Bridget. Let me put that up so we can all see it. At age 16 and going through body changes from menstrual cycle, let's not forget a female 12 to 16 years of age are going through a lot from decision making, body, and starting their period. This young lady at 16 was doing what trauma affected girls go through.
And I think the thing is that a couple things. We also know that Black girls start their periods earlier. I think they said the last time I checked was about at the age of 8. As young as 8 years old, yes. Their period starts sooner. So we also know that they may be 10, 11 even when we're looking at that. But I think the thing is, no one's allowing her to be a trauma affected girl.
Yeah.
That's part of it. People are hearing now, and the biggest, the anger is that you didn't try to even find that out before you murdered her. If you tased her, again, the people are acting like we're saying do nothing or kill her. Like those are the only options.
There's nothing in between.
In situations with straight up school shooting, mass murdering white men and boys, that they know how to take you alive. And so the idea is not that you didn't need to subdue her, because for one, if she is in that mode of fight and adrenaline and in her trauma and being an adolescent, that is something that you are kind of going for what you know. Tasing her would have let you figure out she's a child in foster care. Tasing her would have let you know that these people came to jump her. Tasing her would have let you know that she was protecting herself, but you didn't allow for that. And I think that's part of it. And even right now in our community, we're not allowing for it because we are saying, hey, oh, well, it doesn't matter. How was he supposed to know that? He wasn't supposed to know. But tasing her using some other non-lethal manner would have allowed you to find out. And for the white people out there who are suddenly caring about the Black woman that you're saying was saved, you don't care about us.
No.
You care about upholding this belief that the police officer deserved to kill her. So while you're out here in these streets talking, well, you wanted to sacrifice one Black girl for another. No, I wanted them both to live. I wanted them both to live so things could be figured out what had happened. For some resolution could have occurred that did not involve death. And that's the space that we need to be in. And yet we're acting like that space didn't exist.
You know, we talk a lot about this juxtaposition between what happened here and a Kyle Rittenhouse or a Dylan Roof, who I think killed 12 people between them. And they both were taken alive. So we don't need to go down that lane again. But what I do want to point out is that this 16-year-old Black girl was killed quicker than a damn ape who had a 5-year-old. They killed her quicker than they killed Harambe. They went back and forth, and there was hand wringing and thought before they killed Harambe. Mm-hmm. So what was he, a chimp, an ape, some sort of simian? Right. Was given more grace than a Black girl. Mm-hmm. Now I'm gonna have to go look it up because they did not shoot him in 13 seconds. He was not killed within 13 seconds. No. Or 30 seconds or however many seconds it was. Mm-hmm. So an ape got more grace than a Black girl. Mm.
And 4 shots in the chest. I think that's the thing.
That's excessive.
4 times in the chest. And people are like, well, police officers are told to shoot to kill. Police officers also are supposed to have within their repertoire many other ways to de-escalate a situation. Right. And so this whole idea of, and initially they tried to say that she was going after the police officer. And that's why he had no option. And it's like this whole idea of you saying that a Black girl deserved 4 shots to her chest.
Right. And speaking of the de-escalation, it seems like that's something that really doesn't apply when you're talking about a Black person.
Can I back up for just 1 second? I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
How long did it take them?
Well, I didn't even get that far because I was struck by the language that's being used to describe it. On May 28th, 2016, a 3-year-old boy climbed into a gorilla enclosure at the Cincinnati Zoo and was dragged by Harambe, a 17-year-old Western lowland gorilla. Fearing for the boy's life, a zoo worker shot and killed Harambe. Y'all ready? The incident was recorded on video and received broad international coverage and commentary, including controversy over the choice to use lethal force.
Wow. Well, we know like puppies, dogs, animals definitely get a lot more grace. I think back to last summer when the Karen in the park was basically choking the dog, and people were like, oh my God, what's she doing to the dog? Sort of thing. And they wound up giving the dog back, but nevertheless. But one of the things, just back to the whole thought of de-escalation, Carolyn, I want to ask you, because I've seen some others who may have worked with students or youth and things like that. I don't know if it necessarily happened in your school, but they're saying that they may have been with people and getting in a fight and can break up a fight, or they have ways to de-escalate situations, even if someone does have a weapon, but for some reason the police weren't willing to do that.
And that's the verbiage right there. Weren't willing, because teachers, principals, deans, administrators, security guards break up fights in schools every day. Some have weapons, some do not, but nobody gets shot. Everybody lives, and you dole out your consequences later. But the point is, everybody gets to have their say, and nobody gave that opportunity to this child. He literally, and the thing that strikes me is that other police officers were on the scene.
Right. Like, what were they doing?
Nobody else drew. And so it almost felt like you just wanted to shoot somebody, because when you step onto a scene, don't you survey and kind of take your cues from what's already happening around you? I am a dean in a high school, and if I walk up on a situation and security is standing down, the security that was there before me that may have more information than I do, if they're standing down, I'm going to say, okay, clearly, based on the initial surveying of whatever's happening, they have a better handle on this than I do. Let me wait and see. If there are other officers on the scene and nobody's weapons drawn and they're trying to figure out what's happening, why you got to come over here, yippee-ki-yay, motherfucking all over the place and just...
And I know, like, I've worked in juvenile prisons, I've worked in residential facilities, and I'm 5'1", nowhere, and some change, because I count my change.
Where?
And that being I have had situations where I've been the first person there, and other people are running up. You know, they call on the radio, people start running, and I've seen them pause when I'm standing there, and I'm like, and I'm not, trying to get away. I'm not doing anything, and I'm just talking. They look, and I'm like, they'll stay, because we still need to monitor what's happening. But if I'm not going to engage because I'm looking at you. You were here first, and you're telling me don't, because I'm already de-escalating this, and you engaging may, make the situation go back up. But that's part of it is that even in every facility I've worked in, adult corrections, juvenile corrections, residential, when people come on, when they are not first, you look to see what they need you to do, unless you already on the floor. If they're already on the ground with somebody, it's like, okay, do I need to tap in? But if someone is there and they're not actively engaged, you look and you take your cue from what they're going to tell you to do. And I mean, again, 4 shots in the chest. You shot her 4 times in the chest. Your goal was to kill her. And people are saying, police officers, if they shoot, they're supposed to kill you. Well, then maybe you need not to shoot. Right. Because maybe that's not what you need to do. If your goal when you come onto something is to automatically kill somebody.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. Bridget is saying that there were adults present and did nothing to stop the fight. Our communities must get involved with our children. Yeah, that seems to be a thing of the past, where people would get in and watch what's going on or have a pulse on what's going on. Now it seems like we live, unfortunately, in too many cases where the adults might be getting involved in the fight, not really helping themselves either. So it's just an all around.
I think the thing is that I sometimes struggle when we say that, only because we use it in situations like this, which then make it say, see, she wouldn't have got murdered if the Black people who was already there would have done something. She still didn't. The Black people who were there, yes, we need to have that conversation. Right. How do we work to de-escalate? But that does not negate the fact that someone came and shot her 4 times in the chest. And so we have to be very mindful of how we have these conversations, and that on one, yes, we need to look at what all was going on and how do we better protect Black girls, because everybody there needs to protect Black girls. However, because you were failing to protect Black girls did not mean this police officer should have came in and shot her 4 times in the chest.
Absolutely.
So both of those things can be true at the same time.
Right. Exactly. And I think that, again, I said I wasn't going to talk about them, but I think that a perfect example of that is Kyle Rittenhouse. Is like, okay, clearly his parent failed him, because she's the one that put him in the car and drove him with the AR-15 to go shoot 3 people. But while his parent failed him, the fail-safe that's put in place, the police did not, which is why he's alive. Right. So again, those 2 things can be true at the same time. I agree.
Zabrisha, the whole thing with Ma'Khia is like the movie The Blind Side. The question that always comes up is, where would those poor Black folks be if it weren't for those good white people? In this case, the good old white people being the police officer who shot her. The question should be, where were her parents and why did her community fail her?
I think that her community would have still been able to protect and nurture her if she wouldn't have been shot 4 times in the chest. Nice. So again, there is work to be done. Are there questions about why was she in foster care? You know, what was going on that resulted in that? Absolutely. However, the where she was failed was not being here to get whatever support that she needed that may have resulted in why she was in foster care or whatever the case may be. And that failure happened when that police officer shot her 4 times in the chest. Right. That was the ultimate failure because it's one that you can't come back from.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can't come back. She can't have another opportunity. She can't be moved to another space. None of those.
The family doesn't have the chance to figure out whatever that they may have been working on or would have had the opportunity to come to a resolution because the ultimate failure happened when she was shot 4 times in the chest.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would agree. I would agree. Just based upon, I know that the two of you do a lot of work in working with Black girls. And since this has happened, have you had to have any conversations? Because one thing about this, we know that whenever this stuff happens, it's traumatic to the people who are directly involved, but it's a collective trauma for all of us as Black people, or for some of us who care enough for it to be traumatic to us. Have you had to have any conversations with the young women in your lives? And if so, what have those conversations been, just to kind of give them a sense of understanding, or, you know, just to help them not, I can't even think of the words, just to help them through this situation? Because I can imagine, especially for those who are younger and seeing this in such a graphic way, it may be impacting them. I know you both have daughters.
I'll say a couple things. For shout out to my mentoring group. I mentor a group of amazing, now 9th grade Black girls. When we spent time together this weekend, we specifically did not address that. It was about Black girl joy, spending time together, allowing them to be children. And that was purposeful. With my daughter, it's not a new conversation, and unfortunately, there's not a level of surprise there because we have ongoing conversations about being Black and girl and what does that mean. We have very open conversations, and they have done protests with me. They paint the signs if it's something where we know that it may result in, you know, rubber bullets and arrest, they make the signs and stay home, or they come with us in other ones, but they are very aware. And sadly, they're not surprised. There is this level of disappointment, again, because of this narrative of this teenage girl who's not much older than my oldest deserved to be dead. So those conversations are not new to my children, and it's unfortunate that they're not.
Same. My daughters are 19 and 6. So
God bless you.
I'm like, oh my goodness, what was you forgot. That's what happened. You forgot.
That's all I got. And so obviously with the 19-year-old, there wasn't a lot of conversation to be had because we've had those conversations already. We talked about it a little bit, more so talking about some of the comments that were coming across and talking about those rather than the incident itself. I have not had a lot of conversation with students about it simply because we're virtual, and it's hard to say, hop on this Google Meet and and talk about being victimized yet again. Like that's
Right.
not really something that anyone wants to do. I think it may have been different had we been in person.
Right.
And it would be those transitions would be easier because you would have access to me and you could have come down to the office, or we could have called the group or something along those lines. But in this virtual space, it was very difficult to kind of make that happen, nor did I want to, because it's also hard to kind of gauge where people are virtually. And and you don't want to necessarily open something that wasn't open by saying, let's talk about this. And virtual, just for me, doesn't allow for the opportunity for things to happen organically.
And that does make a lot of sense. Since you're not actually in the school right now, that does make sense. I just feel like, I know for myself personally, a lot of times things happen and I may not be the one, because to be honest, I didn't really look at the video until today. I'm one that tends not to like to take in, maybe get the information, but not necessarily watch a thing, because we know that things will flow through social media and the news, and it's just like over and over and over again. And at a certain point, it's just too much. And then I also think for some, they may even become desensitized to the things that are really going on because it's just so much. So one thing, just what ways can we continue to be aware of the things that are going on, to be involved, to work towards, getting out and protesting, or working with people to try to bring about change? How can we be active in these fights, but then at the same time be able to maintain our mental health and our sanity in the midst of it all? Do either of you have any thoughts around that, whether it be for us as adults or even for the girls that may be in our lives or that we might be working with?
I think I always talk about this idea of resilience and resistance. And a lot of times we praise Black girls and Black women for being resilient, which means that when the world treats you like crap, you still keep going and you push through. And on some level, that is important. But the resistance part is the understanding that is unacceptable, and that we are deserving of something better than that, and that we have to fight to make that happen. So in that, I also say that part of resistance is always making sure that in spite of all this, that you have joy, that you allow yourself that, because sometimes as Black women and girls, we believe that we are long suffering, we are martyrs, we are the ride or dies for our community, for everybody but ourselves. And it's okay to not be in every fight. It's okay to sometimes say, you know what, I'm not going to continue to be out there for everybody when no one's out here for me. There was a saying about when and where Black women enter, the whole world comes with us. So if we are successful because we make a point to we don't want oppression for anybody, that we have to be okay to say, sometimes I'm not going to be out in these streets. We also have to be okay in saying that I deserve joy, again, which was why when I went out with I took that day to go out with my mentees, we go on a brunch. We're about to talk. We're about to laugh, because you deserve moments like this.
Absolutely.
And need moments like this. So we have to be okay with that. We have to be okay with shutting it off. Sometimes I don't watch the videos. And when people have sent them to me, oh, well, you must not have watched the video. First of all, I don't need to.
Right.
What I do is I have people that I trust who put themselves out there, who will watch them. And I'll be like, Carolyn, you saw it? Tell me about it. Because I can't today. I can't do this today. And that has to be okay. So we don't have to watch it. We don't have to, when people are tagging us and saying, you've got to get in the middle of this conversation. And then they want you there and become the devil's advocate, because I want to keep pushing you and pushing you and pushing you till you back off. I posted something on my public page where I was like, y'all don't understand. This is still my space. I will with joy block you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need that. I don't need anybody in my space who hates Black women and girls. So we have to be okay with limiting those who have access to us. We have to be okay with not protesting everything. We have to be okay in insisting and making time for joy. And we have to be okay with the idea that we have to prioritize us. Everybody else prioritizes themselves. Black men prioritize themselves. And they do that when they tell us we all we got. When they're like, race is it, we all we got, bruh. I got sexual violence, gender-based violence. I got reproductive justice. These things I got too. Do you care about them? You don't.
Patriarchy intact.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kang attacking. I can't. That wasn't my fault.
That sounds a lot like Kang slander.
I'm sorry.
Well, you also need to be very intentional.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that you've said, but you have to be very intentional about it, and in whatever way you are capable of being intentional about it. I know that self-care has become one of the buzzwords recently, and what we tend to want to do with self-care is think that it's got to be this $300 spa day,
right?
And that automatically becomes prohibitive for some people.
Right.
And self-care, honestly, is whatever you need to do to be okay. And it can be just taking a moment for yourself. It can be this dedicated time every day or every week or every whatever that the people in your life know is yours. And they understand that time is not to be messed with. I'm good for a brownie in my car before I go in the house. That's probably why I got this, but I digress. And sometimes, again, it's knowing your limits and saying not today, and surrounding yourself with a circle that has you when today is not your day. And that is, excuse me, one of the things that I truly appreciate about our Centering Sisters space is that sometimes everybody is not going to be okay. Sometimes people get busy. Sometimes stuff gets to be too much. And when that happens, somebody else just kind of steps up and says, I got you. Let me handle this, because I see that this week you got 11 things happening. That doesn't mean that our work stops. It means that you do what you need to do to be okay, but the wheel will still move. When you don't have those people, that's a part of self-care too, is finding those spaces and places that are going to allow you to do you in whatever that looks like, and not constantly depending on you to get everything done. Because a lot of Black women, unfortunately, are in that space where they feel like the world will fall apart if they take a breath. And unfortunately, there are people who are in those situations where everything does fall apart when they take a breath. And so part of self-care is putting checks and balances in place so that if you need to breathe for a minute, the world will still stand.
Absolutely. Well, that is great. I'm not going to call it advice, but just great insight. You know, because one of the things, just thinking back a moment about the whole thing of self-care and $300 spa days, I mean, that's something that makes self-care something that is unattainable for some people, because there are people who can't do that. So every person has to find that thing that works for them, whether it's just going out and taking a walk, or Netflix and chill by yourself, or take a bath, or, you know, whatever it is, just something, sit and meditate, just something that you can do to help you unwind and kind of not forget about what's going on in the world, but just kind of separate from it at some point in time, because we all need to have to be able to do that.
And a big part of that self-care as a Black woman or Black girl is everybody not deserving to be in your space.
Well,
so if you know that people don't value you, don't care about you, you don't have to entertain them to the level that they would like.
Girl, were you not there for the Puta viral fiasco of 2019 where we learned that little Black girls are not able to say that their space is sacred?
Yes, I was there.
Now you have to explain because some people don't know. Well, Puta is your youngest daughter.
Yeah, she is my youngest daughter, and we were this was 2 years ago now. I think we were having a conversation, just kind of about her day, and I was noticing some things and how she had kind of pulled back from someone. So again, bullying background. I'm like, all right, what's going on here? Thinking that there was an issue, and there really wasn't an issue. She was just like, I'm not feeling her. And so she pulled back from her. And her exact verbiage was, she doesn't make my heart shine. And when something doesn't make my heart shine, I don't deal with it. And so I posted that and it went viral.
Yes.
And from that, there were a lot of comments from people basically accusing me of making that up for likes and retweets and all this other stuff. And it just became clear from that situation that, and it was mostly Black people, like it was mostly Black folks, like a lot of white people that were commenting were like, oh my God, kids have the best insight and da 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 da. And those were the types of comments. And Black folks, girl, she didn't say that. My 2-month-old just told me the lottery numbers. Ha 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 ha. And what are you gonna do when she grows up and she reads this and be like, Mama, why you lying on me like that, in that type of situation? And this thing was shared 30,000 times, had like 50,000 comments on it. And it was just this space of where Black folks were just like, here we go again, where people will say anything for clout. And it was ridiculous. And it was very sobering for me as someone who does this work to just be in the middle of a living, breathing embodiment of internalized microaggressions and how we don't even believe our own children capable of autonomy to the point that they can decide for themselves who they want to mess with and who they don't want to mess with.
And the crazy thing about that is now you have kids have their own TikToks and Instagrams, and where kids are standing up and saying things similar to what Puta said 2 years ago. Now people are getting famous and getting deals because their kids are saying things and having insight. So that's something else. Zabrisha here is saying for her, it is her sister circle, gotten her through the darkest times of her life. Don't know where she'd be without her sisters. Absolutely.
Black can be some of the most amazing, supportive resources for each other when we choose to do that. I love it.
Oh, one last comment, then we're going to start wrapping it up because it's getting late and I know people got things to do. Zabrisha saying a video of Shakira's sons were touching and rubbing the face of the little Black girl. I didn't see that. I could see how uncomfortable she was, but someone kept recording and laughing because it was 2 boys touching her face and hair. I just wanted to grab her up and take her away from that situation. No, I didn't see that. No.
I'm going to be angry this late at night. So.
I
did not see that. That is horrible.
Don't start now. That's too much.
And isn't she supposedly a woman of color? You see my air quotes?
Well, she, Hispanic, but not necessarily of color.
Yeah, I don't think she. I think she don't. Yeah, I don't think she.
I don't think that. I said one last comment. This is the last one because it's a good one. Self-awareness allows you to do the things that don't disrupt your peace. Go places that give you space of joy and choose the right people to sit at your table and have healthy conversations. Self-awareness allows me to do the things that make me happy.
All of that.
Yes. You just summed it up right there.
Exactly.
For us, Bridget, because that is one of the reasons, Brown Girl Collective in and of itself, but just even in the last year, starting a book club, and those of you who are tapped into that, and this newer form, I can't talk today, this newer format, which is Live Well Sister, it is a whole thing of talking about things that are important to us and bringing Black women in who have insight into different areas, because I might have an idea about something. I may have a cursory knowledge about something, but I want to bring people in who can share their stories and share their knowledge, because we all get better together. Collectively, we all get better together. So that's what this forum is all about. So before we get ready to close out for the night, I'm going to start with Dr. Strong this time. Just let people know what you may have going on and how they can stay in touch with you and all of your fabulosity.
Well, right now, during this Ponderosa pandemic panini thing we got going on here, we've just been trying to build more of the virtual platform and trying to take some of the things that that we have been doing in-person events and making those translate to Zoom in terms of anti-racism trainings and things of that nature, and to try and figure out how to get into some of these schools that are writing these great statements about how they abhor racism, but still calling themselves Robert E. Lee High School. And just getting them to understand just how deep this rabbit hole goes of anti-Blackness, and how you can't teach Black kids if you don't love Black kids. And and translating these things into this virtual platform, because it's not as easy for me to get up in your face and go, "You uncomfortable yet?" Because that's how that works for me. But I'm not getting in anybody's face probably for the next 7 years. So you can find me on Twitter at Dr. Carolyn Strong, and you can find me on Facebook at Strong Conversations.
All right. And Dr. Tyffani?
Well, tomorrow, I am on the board of Black Women's Blueprint, and tomorrow morning we are doing an Instagram vigil at 9 a.m. For Ma'Khia Bryant, and we're doing another convening at 1 p.m. on Facebook. So that's the kind of that immediate thing I'm doing. I'm starting to go back and do therapy some more, specifically with Black girls. So I start that in June with an agency that is in a predominantly Black community that serves underserved folks. So, and I wanted to unapologetically provide services to Black girls, because a lot of Black therapists do not stay in those spaces once they're able to move from them. I'm also doing a lot of training right now, more, of course, virtual stuff, looking at culturally informed mental health practices, specifically to better service Black and brown children. And then I'm also going to be working on this project around with this other place that I can't mention yet because they have to put it out. But we're going to kind of look at just the impact of on our mental health of this year pandemic and racial injustice, murders, all those good things. I can be found everywhere at Dr. Tyffani. So Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of them is at Dr. Tyffani.
Okay, and here's one of our friends and one of your cohorts, Dr. Tammy Harris. You all work together with on Centering Sisters, and you have your own video cast that's on every other Wednesday.
On Wednesdays, we smash the patriarchy.
Right.
Yes. And when is your next episode, so people will know when to tune in?
Next week on the 5th. On the 5th. And we're talking about mental health in Black girls.
Yep.
All right. So that's right on time. Hey, Tammy. We had her on a while ago. I'm talking about her new book, Dear Black Girl. And we all have letters, and I don't have that one in front of me, but we all have letters in her book. So if you haven't already watched that video cast, go take a look at Carolyn. Go take a look at that and hear more about what Tammy's got going on and support her in that book. Speaking of books,
I will say is that on that one, I collected 50 copies of the book to donate to Black girls and Black girls serving organizations in Northeast Ohio. So I'm grateful to all the people who donated a copy of Dear Black
Girl. Your goal.
I met my goal, and I have some coming. I'm excited.
So speaking of books, I'm going to put these up. These are two Dr. Tyffani's books. Girls Got Issues, and You Got This. I know one of these I wrote the forward to. I have to look and see, but I actually wrote the forward in one of these books. It's been several years. But
I was gonna say it's been a minute because I think I wrote the book.
But yes.
You contributed as well. I think it was You Got This was the one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then I know you said that you yourself has to get a copy. This is
I do. I don't have any more.
Black Girl Blues. This is for grade 6 to 12, and it specifically speaks to things that have to do with bullying. So even though you are transitioning into some other things, that's still a part of your repertoire. So
well, it's not so much about bullying as much as it is to address the relational aggression that we see specifically in Black girls from a historical perspective. A lot of the term intraracial bullying is not so much traditional bullying as it is those conflicts that we see amongst each other that tend to be very, very specific to Black girls that don't occur anywhere else. And those have to be addressed historically because they were created historically.
Right. Well, be on the lookout for those books so that you can get that information and see what other things these wonderful women have coming up. So thank you again for joining me. Good doctors, Dr. Carolyn, Dr. Tyffani, personal friends, not just guests, but personal friends. You know, when you all are out there, when you're, soror as well. Don't do that.
Don't be a hater. Come on.
Don't hate.
Never hate.
Whatever. Don't hate. We're all sisters and we're all sisters. Absolutely. So thank you again for being here with me. I'm just gonna up here real quick let you know in 2 weeks. I actually had to reschedule this episode, but we are going to be talking with Amber D, who is the founder of Black Female Therapists, on our next episode, which is in 2 weeks on the 13th. She was scheduled 2 weeks ago and couldn't come, but we have rescheduled that, and that's right on time. This is Mental Health Awareness Month. So we will be talking about therapy and in our community, specifically with Black women, and just some of the things that we can do to continue that conversation. Another thing that is coming up, and this post should be going up here in a few minutes on both Facebook and Instagram, on the 24th, which is a Monday, I will be having a conversation with Trey Anthony. I actually already did an interview with her on the 1st of this month, but she's coming back and we're going to do a deep dive personal Zoom conversation about her book, Black Girl in Love with Herself. So that does speak to a lot of the things that Live Well Sister is about. In that book, she talks about our relationship with our money, our relationships with others, our health, just a lot of things that this particular platform is all about. So I'm going to have her come on. So when that post goes up in approximately 7 minutes, be on the lookout for it. If you can grab a copy of the book and read it beforehand, then we will join up on the 24th to have an intimate, in-depth conversation and be able to ask questions and share our stories. So that's all I've got for now. There's book club stuff going on, but I'm not trying to overwhelm people. But just stay tuned to the Brown Girl Collective Facebook page. You'll see all the stuff going on with the book club, with Live Well Sister, and just, things as they come up that I feel it in my heart and spirit to share with you guys. So thanks again for your time. Thanks again, Dr. Tyffani and Dr. Carolyn, my soror. Sorry. For being here with us this evening. And if you get a chance, share it out with others who might want to hear this conversation. It is also housed on YouTube as well, so that's another platform for you to watch and stay in tune with what we've got going on. So everyone have a great evening. Stay well, and we'll talk again soon. Have a good one. Good night.